Hello everyone, Clack of the Geek here, welcome back to a brand new video, our third sort of podcast review of Series 1 of Doctor Who, with Ronnie. How are you today? How have you been this week?
Good. Well, good. Easter holidays, isn't it? So
yeah, Easter holidays. Lockdown's easy, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Monday the 12th of April is non-essential shops reopening, so obviously barbers, haircuts, things like...
Pubs, isn't pubs been outside?
Pubs outside, yeah, I think that's one.
Restaurants like takeaway, sort of.
Yeah, just a lot of things reopening now.
Yeah, and obviously there's the rule of six, which has been in place. I've met up with a few people outside my household.
Yes, so have I. And it's been good. Yeah, we've obviously still got a few more steps to go.
Yeah, but the year's getting better. You know, 2021 started horrendously, but we could end on a real high note. You know, but I mean, speaking of things that have not made 2021 very good, I feel we just quickly want to take a little bit of tribute to the late Paul Ritter, who played Martin in Friday Night Dinner. I just wanted to make a little tribute here. Yeah, I was absolutely gutted to hear that he passed away.
Obviously, I'm not the biggest Friday Night Dinner fan, but obviously it is sad.
Yeah, and he was only 50. He was only 55, wasn't
he? Yeah, brain hemorrhage. It was, so no age to die at all. I remember texting you.
You did, first, you told me.
As soon as I heard the news, I thought, I'm going to text you because I know that you're a massive Friday Night Dinner fan.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not really my cup of tea, but
I adore it. He was probably my favourite character, to be honest.
Yeah,
and
very funny.
Bloody gutted to hear that he's...
Yeah, it's awful.
Yeah. Anyway, let's get on to the Unquiet Dead, the third episode of Modern Who, the first historical story, and the first episode not written by a showrunner. It's not written by Russell. This is written by Mark Gatiss, our man from the League of Gentlemen.
Legend.
We love League Gentlemen.
Hilary Briss, what a legend.
Yeah. So let's get into it. So overall, I mean, it sounds like the end of the review already. But, you know, generally, I've always found this a really underrated story, and I really like it.
Yeah, I mean, I have to disagree with you there. It's not my favourite, probably my weakest of Series 1.
Really? Yeah.
I was going to say, it's obviously, like you say, it's a historical episode, and it's a good use of the character of Charles Dickens, that whole backstory, the whole Christmas idea.
Yeah. And it's the closest thing we have to a Ninth Doctor Christmas special, isn't it?
Yeah, actually, when you think about it, and once again, I noticed a lot in New Who is that the idea of Wales. They use Wales a lot.
Yeah, the first time Cardiff's in it, isn't it? And it's like introduced like the rift, doesn't it?
Yes, and it's a setup for the later story.
Yeah, and also Eve Miles, you know, she was in Torch with Gwen. She's in this. I think it's meant to be like Gwyneth, like the character in Unquiet Dead, who's Eve Miles. Isn't she meant to be like a descendant of Gwen?
Yeah, I think obviously they didn't plan that from the beginning, but I think they've brought her back because she knew she was a good actor.
Yeah.
And then obviously just thought, we can tie this in. And it ties in obviously with the rift and with Torchwood and
Bad Wolf. It's the first time Bad Wolf mentioned, I think.
Oh. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's not a full on like mention of Bad Wolf, but it's like obviously the big Bad Wolf. Obviously. Yeah. It's just a random thing that Gwyneth says prediction for the future.
And I mean, watching Torchwood recently, it's really cool, you know. So yeah.
Yeah. Very good.
So let's talk about the character. We've got the Doctor, Christopher Eccleston. As usual, he's fantastic, and he does have some really.
I love that pun.
I mean, this is going to become a recurring joke here, isn't it?
It's like a bloody trilogy, mate. Every time we talk about Eccleston, it's always absolutely fantastic.
Well, it's true. He is. Yeah. And I mean, he's got some really funny moments. I mean, Mark Gatiss' script is really witty, and there's some great bits of humour in it. But also, I think this story really explores his more sombre side. Yeah,
I mean, it's sort of like the first two of the introduction.
Yeah.
And sort of it's been said, this is who Eccleston is, this is how he is as a character.
Yeah.
And then this one, it's sort of a filler episode, if that makes sense. Like, it could sort of be put anywhere. But like you say, obviously the layout of Series 1 is perfect. And it's like all laid out properly. A Dalek comes sort of in the middle. So it's sort of like, here's an edge. And
it's almost like a turning point for the series, isn't it?
Yeah. But I think Unquiet Dead is obviously one of my weakest episodes, and I think it's sort of a filler episode, yeah.
I mean, I can kind of see that, but at the same time, you do have like things like the Rift introduced and Bad Wolf introduced, and I also think even if it doesn't introduce like a whole lot, I think sometimes a story can sometimes get a bit too bogged down in that, like, future that you're doing from Series 12, I don't mind it. I do enjoy it. But as a story, it's a bit of a mess.
Yeah. Like,
Or Let's Kill Hitler from Series 6. I hate that one.
See, I quite like that episode.
I can't stand it. I really can't.
I mean, another example of a historical figure.
Yeah.
I love the fact of how they think, oh, Hitler, how can we use Hitler? Roy just punches him. Like, it's just
Roy putting Hitler in the cupboard is just mainly. Anyway, off topic. We need to talk about Unquiet Dead. But yeah, I mean, Eccleston is great. You see his more sombre side with the Gelf, and he sort of sympathises with them.
Because
of the Time War. Yeah, and you see different sides to him, because Eccleston's a very versatile actor, so I'm glad you see that side of him. And you also have other characters. You've got Rose, who's great. And she gets some very...
Dickens.
Yeah, you got Charles. Well, yeah, Rose gets some very good interactions with Gwyneth.
Oh, yeah, it's sort of like, obviously, like, sort of the girl, female teenager.
They're sort of on the same like wavelength in a way.
A similar background type,
Yeah. And then obviously you've got Charles Dickens, played by Simon Callow, I think the name is.
Something like that.
Yeah, but I think he's brilliant. He's one of the best historical figures in New Who.
Yeah, obviously we don't want to get into this now, but obviously it's the first. Is it the first? Yeah,
it's the first historical, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in classic here, I'm trying to think outside of the Hartnell era, because you had like Marco Polo, the guy, Roman Emperor guy,
Nero.
Emperor Nero, yes. Nero. Richard the Lionheart.
Yeah. Julius Caesar in one of them.
Sorry.
I think Julius Caesar is in one of them as well.
I can't remember.
But I don't know if that's Hartnell. It could be another classic, but I swear Julius Caesar has been in the Doctor Who episode.
Maybe. I'm trying to... Yeah, I mean, there is Peter Davison was an episode King John was in it, with the Magna Carta stuff.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really a common thing in Classic Who, now that I think about it, outside the Hartnell era. So it's always cool seeing like...
homage to that, I suppose.
Yeah, but it's nice seeing like the character-driven historicals, because through the historical figures, you can really have some emotional stuff. And it makes... And they portray them as genuine people, and like not just these monoliths, just actual people.
I mean, obviously, like how I was trying to make the point earlier on of how, like, obviously, people like Charles Dickens, Rosa Parks, that have been around sort of when photographs and film cameras were starting to get developed. So obviously, you can sort of see some footage or some real life to them.
But then with like people like way back, like William Shakespeare, you just have that painting with him in the collar.
Exactly, or like the Romans have like obviously just the statues. A painting really, but it's one of them, isn't it?
But it portrays them as real people, and I think Charles Dickens. I think when I first watched this story, I thought it was good, and like the scenes with him, realising there's more out there.
Yeah.
It's a nice little message, but
actually,
now
to be honest, it's sort of like combines him like as a storyteller, because he tells things of like out of ghosts
and Christmas Carol and Oliver Twist,
out of world figures, and like it's sort of like he comes into contact with ghosts at Christmas, so it's sort of a nice like blend.
Not a nice parallel, but I like learning about like, because I think in English like a year ago, last year or something, we were doing Oliver Twist. And like you always have to learn about like the historical context in English, don't you?
Yeah.
And like learning that and then rewatching it. Not this time, but like last time we watched it, it hits a bit harder, because it's like he had a very troubled life. He was poor.
Yeah, his father was in debtor's prison.
Yeah, and like he had a very difficult life. So the fact that he learns this, and there's like this elation. Is that elation?
Something like that,
but like this release, it's like, oh my god, there's more out there. It hits harder now. Now I know the context.
Is that the word?
Sorry.
Alienation, or was that just
I don't know, but anyway, like it's this release of like, yay, there's more to life out there, and I think Charles Dickens really carries the story, and I think it's just his journey is just a joy to watch. I think.
Yeah, it's like he knew, but he didn't know as well.
Yeah. But there's also some other cool characters, not great. You've got Gwyneth, played by Eve Miles, who was in Torchwood eventually, and that's great. You've got Mr. Sneed. Is that his name?
Something like that. Some Welsh bald dude.
Yeah, some of his lines are really funny, to be fair.
Oh yes, when he tried to feel up Rose.
I will not be spoken to like that. Oh, that was funny. That was.
Oh, great, love Rose in that bit.
Yeah, that was a really funny bit. So let's talk about the Gelf, the monsters of the story. Were you singing then?
No.
All right. Just all right. We'll keep the take going because like we don't care about. Anyway, the Gelf, the monster of the story. What do you think of them?
They were pants.
Yeah.
Legit pants. I genuinely feel like they were probably one of the worst villains. Not because like they were pants portrayal or they said something bad or, you know, not like Slovene immaturity, but the fact of like they were just, I don't know, like you could do an awful lot with them and them possessing people to make them look like zombies. Yeah, it wasn't really the best.
I mean, I don't think they. I think they wouldn't be a monster that I would choose to like return. Like you know, like people say.
No.
They wouldn't be a monster that I would particularly want to return.
I mean, like, are they like a gas-based life form that, like, possess
Yeah,
people?
they travel through the gas, don't they? Like the candles and stuff.
You know, like, they could be used to, like, Slovene, like, a fart out a Gelf, like, you know what I mean?
Fart out a Gelf.
Yeah, it's
The Gelf caused global warming.
That's a conspiracy theory.
Oh my god, that is a conspiracy theory and a half there. But to be honest, I quite like the Gelf. I think, first of all, the design, the CGI, I think, kind of holds up because they're a very simple design.
Yeah, very.
I think they do hold
scary.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're very, you know, like sort of weird and fantastical.
Yeah, the one shot of, I think it's the cold open, just before the title card.
Oh, with the old woman.
Oh, mate.
I think when they're in a human form and it's like the dead eyes, and they are very creepy.
Yeah. It's a bit like a jump scare, but not like literally she's walking towards going.
That is a very good cold open, and they are very creepy. I think, and I think they're a very simple monster, but they don't need to be anything more than that. They're not really annoying like Cassandra was. I mean,
I can't see them coming back, like I say.
Yeah, but I think as a one-off thing, they're fine, and if they did come back,
it might be a bit poor.
Yeah, but it's, you know, they're fine as what they are, and they're not the greatest monster, but I like them, to be honest.
Yeah.
They've held up in terms of how they look, they provide some pretty scary stuff, and they're just a solid monster.
Yeah, they're not necessarily the best, but they're not necessarily great as well.
Even though you said they were, like, one of the worst.
We don't talk about it.
That's your new catchphrase. So now let's talk about like sort of general production values and, you know, like the sets and the effects and all that kind of stuff. So you have all the different locations. You have the streets with all the snow, lovely.
Yes, very. It's very Christmas Carol-esque. It's very Victorian, Cardiff, Wales. It's just a lovely setting.
Yeah, it's the closest thing we have to a Ninth Doctor Christmas special, as they say.
Yes.
And the aesthetic looks really nice. There's obviously the morgue and the dungeon, which looks very atmospheric, very creepy.
Yeah, it's very fitting.
You've got in contrast,
Theatre.
The theatre, yes. That scene when, you know, he's telling Christmas Carol and he says, the face, it looks something like that, and everyone turns, it's creepy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very, very, very
creepy. And the way it's staged, and it just looks...
Yeah.
It's just really well done. And obviously you've got the house as well.
Yeah, and the TARDIS didn't use that much in this.
No, but honestly though, like when you see the TARDIS, it does look quite nice.
Yeah, and is it just me remember it now? But is it very dark? It looks very dark
inside.
And the very setting of sort of like I could be completely wrong here, but sort of the dark setting, the dark. Obviously, it's set at night, whatever, and it's very dark, black, industrial era, Victorian. It's very dark as a story.
Maybe, yeah.
And you've got the contrast, obviously, the blue Gelf and the dark everything, basically.
Maybe, yeah. That's a good idea, yeah. There's also another thing I wanted to point out is the humour in this. Obviously, Mark Gatiss is part of the League of Gentlemen, and this is such a witty script, and it's one of the reasons I love it so much. It's just so entertaining, and Mark Gatiss is sort of black humour, kind of like he's very dark humour.
I will admit that, like, even though I think it's the weakest, it's probably one of the wittiest because it has Mark Gatiss as a writer.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of jokes and obviously witty, like, funny moments that aren't necessarily funny. So, like, obviously, you've got the whole when Rose is having the confrontation with Mr. Baldy Welshman.
Mr. Sneed.
Sneed, anyway. Baldy Welshman, that's what I'm
Baldy Welshman.
So, Mr. Baldy Welshman, legit, like, she was like, oh yeah, I don't think I didn't notice you copied the thing and everything. I was laughing at that. I was just like...
It's so funny.
it's literally just like, and then he was like, "How was spoken to like that?" And all because the doctor was just laughing in the corner. It just shows that like Rose doesn't need the doctor to back her up, and just like stuff like it's funny.
Yeah, even like the little moments, like even just little reactions from characters, like when Charles Dickens is like reacting to all the Gelf, and it's like his face is priceless, and even that little moment, it's such a witty script. The dialogue is, and that's why it's such an entertaining story for me, and I'm always grinning ear to ear when watching it. So overall, this is like the wrapping up bit now. What would you give it out of 10, and like final thoughts, sort of?
A 4.
A 4? I thought you said there was a bad episode in series 1.
Yeah, it's not necessarily my favourite. It's not necessarily the worst. It's the worst of series 1 by far, but it's one of them that, like, if you had to force me to watch it, I would. Like, it's not necessarily I hate it, but it's a love-hate. It's like Marmite. I might stretch to a 5, actually. A 5.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I people tend to agree with that. Like, it's a fairly forgettable one, but this may surprise you. I'm going with an 8.
An 8?
An 8 out of 10. It used to be a 7, but now it's an 8.
No, I'm leaving the podcast.
You are not chickening out. You're not chickening out of this podcast, all right? This isn't series 11 or 12 where we're having massive shouting matches.
Mate, it's once again, it's series 1 of my favourite series. It's Eccleston, it's Rose, it's got an historical character, it's got a not so likeable villain. It's a half and half.
Mm-hmm. But I mean, I love it. I mean, it's a really entertaining watch. Great humour, great horror, great characters. Really good historical themes, and it's got a lot of heart to it. So So hope you enjoyed this podcast. That's the end of the video. Please be sure to like, subscribe, comment. What do you think of this episode? Do you like it? Do you not? Let us know in the comments.
Terrible.
Let us know in the comments below. And this is Clack of the Geek and RonaparTV signing out. And because you said you would be quitting this podcast, you are not allowed to plug your channel this time.
Well, guess what, mate? It's only your fault for letting me speak and have the last word. So, thank you for watching and sub to RonaparTV.